Sutton. H.I. Sutton has a great analysis. He came out on October 4th here a couple days ago about the Belgorod. The Belgorod is that big-ass Russian submarine that has been modified. They took an old... what was it, an Oscar II that they were going to build, and they ran out of money. So they had this half-built submarine, and they were like, what are we going to do with it? Well, they made it basically a auxiliary submarine that has combat capability, and they call it a research vessel. Okay. So it's kind of a hybrid submarine. It's really big and wide like the Oscar IIs are, but it has a huge, torpedo tube in the front. It turns out they have two of these, port and starboard, that can shoot this Poseidon torpedo. That's that big, 7 feet in diameter, as tall as a human person, taller even, I guess, that can shoot this nuclear powered with a nuclear warhead, can go 100 knots over thousands of miles over months of time, and detonate a huge warhead. Anyway, the Belgorod is the submarine, one of 6 that is going to be shooting that weapon. But what's unique about the Belgorod is it also has like a little moon bay, like something out of a James Bond villain movie, where they can dock. It's not a moon bay, it's a dock. Okay, I need to be specific about that so I don't get called out. Where they can dock a mini sub that does deep diving and retrieves items from the bottom and can do work on the bottom of the ocean, and then come back to the Belgorod while it's submerged underway and conduct all this clandestine type of retrieval missions and place things on the bottom of the oceans, like nuclear power plants. They have a portable nuclear power plant that's autonomous, runs by itself, creating electricity. Yeah, that's hardened in a watertight container that to withstand thousands of feet of pressure, and they place those around the Arctic Ocean, powering their Arctic ring of SOSUS. Okay, that's one thing that the Belgorod can do. Well, she has gone into a floating dry dock. So we're going to read from the piece without giving away any more. Full credit to H.I. Sutton from this, from hisutton.com. If you're not following him, you're missing out. H.I. Sutton writes, the submarine, which came from the cold, Belgorod undercover, Russia's latest supermassive submarine, K-329 Belgorod, has been returned to its sheds. This answers a small open source intel mystery. A floating dry dock used for moving submarines between certain construction halls and the river was observed at the entrance of the basin on October 21st. This is like going back, must be last year. So we know now that it was collecting the Belgorod. The unique submarine is Project 09852, is the only submarine in the world to combine a mission of a spy submarine, like I described to you, with nuclear deterrence. That's that big Poseidon torpedo. For the first mission, it's equipped to host the Low Shark deep diving special mission submarine that can go down thousands of feet, withstand high pressures, has a crew of about 10 to 12 men, I think, inside, and they conduct operations on the bottom of the ocean. This, it says it's an estimated 178 meters. She's believed to be the longest submarine in the world, talking about the Belgorod, second only to the mighty Typhoon in terms of displacement. If she were any longer, the shipyard might have trouble moving her between the water and its sheds because it fills up that dry dock. It's so big. If they could make the dry dock bigger, the floating dry dock, then they could make her bigger, is what he's saying. The Belgorod was launched in April 23rd of 2019, started sea trials the summer of 2021. Before starting sea trials, she was thought to be back in the sheds, just as she is now. While we should be careful with speculation, the latest return may indicate that teething issues with various systems or unfinished work on her underside, possibly where she carries the Los Sharik mini submarine. There have been reports in the Russian media that Belgorod will commission this year. I honestly expected her to be commissioned this year. So remember, we talked about on Wednesday, 3 submarines were going to be commissioned by the end of the year. This is one of them. This is the one that's scary because it can shoot that Poseidon torpedo that I keep hammering the war drum about. We need to stop this. We need to figure out a way to defeat this thing peacefully. This should reduce the time between fitting and commissioning, says H.I. Sutton. However, the fast pace of sea trials for such an unusually complex submarine smells of political expediency. Yeah, he's absolutely right of that. Maybe they were just trying to hit deadlines for expediency. And Russia has a history of that. If you look at their commissioning dates, and a lot of their launch dates too, but especially their commissioning dates, is December 31st of whatever year that they're in, and that's just to hit a milestone to say, hey, this ship has been in service since 1969, so they get that extra year whenever they retire it, even though it's only been a day instead of a year. Anyway, that's part of the efficiency, or part of the expediency there. So even if she is commissioned in the coming months, it is questionable whether she'll be truly operational or not. A la LCS, a la the Zumwalt, just like our carrier. Americans do this too. So let's look at ourselves a little bit. This is not unique to the Russians. But anyway, so the big news is she's back in Drydock before her commissioning, probably fixing something that doesn't work right. So that's good news for us. We still have time before they can go to sea and launch these Poseidon torpedoes that are going to be a menace, in my opinion, to any nation, but especially the United States. They really want us. What do you guys think about this Belgorod? You guys that have been here with the channel for years know this submarine very well. Those of you that are new, welcome. This thing is a nightmare submarine, and we have time to stop it from becoming operational. Maybe do a treaty. Say, hey, things over this tonnage not allowed, because it is a very big submarine. Anyway, Hammond says the political expediency putting lives at risk. Absolutely. In every Navy that does it. Yeah. And I don't know a Navy that doesn't do it, but the Americans are certainly guilty of this. The evidence is everywhere. LCS, Zumwalt, and the new Gerald R. Ford. They commissioned that thing years ago, like at least a year ago, maybe 2 years now. And it's just now becoming operational because she wasn't ready. Yeah. Scary. Yeah, she is scary and beautiful. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. She is a beautiful submarine. Right here. I can't expand this picture, unfortunately. She is a beautiful sub, but her mission is terrifying. Her capability is terrifying. Yeah. I'm not a fan. I love engineering. I'm an engineer myself. But I love naval architecture, and putting these very complex systems together inside a hull that is then watertight, and you go out and you power with a nuclear reactor, in this case 2 reactors, and you submerge it for weeks or months at a time, is amazing. And I absolutely love that. I just don't like that it has nuclear weapons, and a nuclear weapon kills indiscriminately. That's the downside of that. Scary and beautiful. I agree, chat. All right, let's go to the last story. This is one, again, from the Drive WarZone.com. I wanted to use this source for the Connecticut story, but I found this one, so we want to use this story for them instead, give them some credit. This one written by Mr. Joseph Thervthick. He says, American forces have been quietly deployed to Taiwan with increasing regularity, says the report. This is kind of also a more in-depth story of one that came out recently in the Wall Street Journal, where the Wall Street Journal broke the story, to their credit, that the United States Special Forces, American Special Forces, have been operating in Taiwan this summer, right? Which they have been, but it's not the first time they've done it, like they reported. So, but I don't want to give away any more of the story. Full credit to the Wall Street Journal for breaking that news, and Joseph Thervthick for writing the story in the War Zone. Joseph writes, a new report from the Wall Street Journal says that contingents of U.S. Special Operations Forces and the U.S. Marine Corps have been making more regular rotation deployments to Taiwan for at least a year now. This news comes a day after Chu Kusheng of the island's defense ministry said publicly that Chinese forces would be capable of launching a full-scale invasion operation across the Taiwanese Strait with far fewer risks than they face now by 2025. That's a little bit of a confusing statement, and that might be a little bit of a translation thing. But what I believe he's saying is that Taiwan will be more capable in 2025 to put up a resistance than it is now. Therefore, if China acts now, they would have an easier time of it. And if that's what he's saying, I do agree with that. That's something that I believe is true as well. If anybody else, while we're reading this, has a different take on that, put it in the chat. We'll read it in just a few minutes. Approximately 24 American Special Force operators have been supporting forces apparently on the island now, conducting, this is quote, training for small units of Taiwan's ground forces, according to the journal story, which was published earlier today. An unspecified number of Marines are also there working with locals, quote, for small boat training. It's not entirely clear from the piece whether or not that this has been a permanent or even semi-permanent U.S. military presence on the island for the last year or more. I'd like to think of this as perhaps we're going to put tripwire troops on Taiwan, similar to what we have in South Korea. One of the reasons, one of many, but just one reason we have troops in South Korea is that if North Korea invades with China's assistance or even Russian assistance and they kill American troops, then there's going to be a big pushback to say, hey, you killed American troops, now we're at war with you. America's going to say that. So we could put tripwire troops in Taiwan to prevent China from even initiating hostilities, as they are clearly preparing to do, saying, hey, if you kill American Marines and Special Forces on Taiwan, you got bigger problems than just Taiwan, you know. So I understand why we're there. And also, if that doesn't happen, that's great. We're giving them good training and the strategy worked. So nothing but good could come from this. Basically, I think this is probably helping prevent war, in my opinion. Back to the piece. The Journal noted that there had been reports last November about a deployment of Marine raiders in Taiwan, which the island's naval command reportedly confirmed at the time. The Taiwanese Ministry of Defense subsequently declined to further comment or deny the presence of those forces. A Pentagon spokesperson also told Stars and Stripes that those reports were inaccurate. They basically denied it. So there's a case of the Pentagon basically lying to the media, saying, hey, we're not over there, but they clearly were. And perhaps have been consistently since for years. Now that's speculation. We don't know that. Anyway, the presence of the U.S. Special Forces hasn't been previously reported. The Journal's piece incorrectly stated last June. This is going back a year now. The WarZone, among others, reported the emergence of U.S. Army video with a screen capture, which has been removed from the internet now, showing Green Berets taking part in a interaction of regular series of Joint Combat Exchange Training, or JSET. And this is the screen capture he's talking about. And here you can see, American equipment, clearly American people there. And then this Chinese gentleman here, and he's wearing Taiwanese equipment here. So clearly there's some kind of American Taiwanese thing happening. Is there a date to this? He should have put a date in this capture, but he didn't. So clearly we've been working with Taiwan in the past. We continue to do it now. We will do it in the future. And hopefully it prevents open armed conflict on that island. But at least now we're being open about it. We're letting China know, hey, don't even do it. Don't even start. Anyway, so that's really the crux of the piece there, is that we do have American troops on Taiwan now. It's not a lot, but that's how Afghanistan started. It wasn't a lot in 2001. And we were there for 20 years. Let's see what happens in Taiwan. All right. What do you guys think? American Marines and Special Forces in Taiwan, helping them out, providing them training and equipment. What do you guys think of this? What was the word on the Connecticut? Les, we already covered that. I'll be putting that video up on YouTube later today. I think it's a good idea too, Zero. Yeah. Zorg says, well, huh. Okay. Yeah, I know. This may be a surprise to some of you, and that's because this is not publicly reported or widely reported. It's mentioned in websites like the WarZone that have a very dedicated following, like from myself and other open source people, and vets too. We love this publication, in my opinion. There's some doubters, but yeah, and they, to their credit, have talked about this in the past. Yeah. Fishes says, what is my job? What is your job? What is your job? Is to die if attacked. Okay. Well, unfortunately for tripwire forces, it's to fight back, but yeah, they're greatly outnumbered. Like in the example of South Korea, the troops we have there by themselves are not equipped or supplied to sustain long-term fighting for months at a time. They would need immediately need reinforcement and resupply really from day one. But that's what we're prepared to do, and that's a strategy that's worked, by the way, in the Korean Peninsula. And hopefully that same strategy works here with Taiwan. It's a Schrodinger's Intel. Uh-oh. Yeah, if it's not there, it doesn't exist. Yeah. Is the Connecticut collision going to kill the captain's careers? Possibly, yeah. Whenever you collide, let's say that my speculation was correct about it hit the bottom. The navigator, the captain, and whoever else authorized the chart, because the charts get authorized before they go on. That gets into means and methods. I don't want to go into that. Anybody involved in that is going to at least be disciplined at some point, whether they're just disqualified and they got to requalify or they're completely fired. The range will be in there. Yeah. I understand you guys want to talk a lot about the USS Connecticut, but that's going to be on the YouTube comments from here on out. All right, so that's really all I have for the naval news today. Today we're going to go on with some gameplay here in just a few minutes, so don't go anywhere. We're going to be back with some Far Cry 6 today, all right? I'll see you guys in a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. Thanks for watching the naval news. Bye.